Alright, we're going to create a very stylized, very like cartoonish looking tree to import into our snowman scene. So again, review the previous video in the playlist. You should be in a file named tree, and it should be saved in your snowman project folder. So to get started, let's make a cylinder, and just so we can see the segments and stuff, and we'll go to display, GURO shading, lines. Remember to change the display, the shortcut key is N as in Nevada, and then you can choose any one of those. So if you hit the letter N on the keyboard, then the letter B on the keyboard, it will lead you to this where you can see the segments. Over in the well, first let's call it tree before we do anything else. Over in the object manager, call it tree, and then down here in the attribute manager, the height, I think we can keep, let's see, let me think what I want to do here. We'll keep the radius the same, but let's change the height to 500. And all I'm thinking of is the size relative to the snowman. I think 500 will work okay. Height segments, change that to 10, and you should see the horizontal lines appear on your cylinder there. This is a biggie. Change this one, the rotation segments, to 9. So it's going to be a very angular geometric tree we got going on here. Okay, to model this thing, we have to make it editable. And just to refresh your memory, to make things editable, we can click this icon here, or use the shortcut, which is the letter C. So I'm going to hit the letter C. It is now editable. The parameters are all gone. We can't do anything with parameters anymore. We got to like stretch and bend and mold this thing with the various tools. The first goal I want is to make this pointy. So what I'm going to do is go into point mode, grab this with the selection tool, pull it up. So over here in the modes, it should have defaulted to model mode. Go into point mode, choose your selection tool, your live selection tool, and only select visible elements. In this case, it should be enabled. Okay, because I'm just going to grab this. I don't want to grab anything else except this top point, and I'm going to pull it up into a point. And let me like move the camera around so you can see. So that's all we got. Very easy. You might have trouble following this, so you'll just rewind the video until you get it. But this is going to be easier if we go into the fore-view. Again, we're still learning the interface. There's two ways to get to the fore-view. You can go up here and click on this icon right here. Easiest thing to do is to hover anywhere in the viewport and click the middle mouse button. We're going to use, well, I'm going to leave both. I'm going to leave all the views up so we can see what's going on here. I'm going to spend most of my time working down here in the right view, and I'm going to be in point mode this whole time, and a lot of this will be easier if I use the rectangle selection tool. Now I want to make sure only select visible elements is disabled. What I want to do is I want to select the entire ring of points as I work on this thing. So rectangle selection tool, then over here in the attribute manager, only select visible objects is disabled. So make sure that's the case, or else you're going to get really frustrated. All right, so we got this the pointy point, and then we got the first row of horizontal points. I'm going to select the second row of horizontal points, and what I'm going to do is pull them in, and with the scale tool, and then move them. So again, this is review. I can go up to the scale tool by clicking this icon right here. Much easier way to do it is just to hit the letter T. on the keyboard, the scale tool is now enabled. Now here's a beginner's mistake. Don't do this, just watch this. Would be, okay, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to scale it in and life is good. Yay, hooray for me. But if you look up in the perspective view, what you got is a warped object because we didn't scale it in equally. So let me Command Z. With the scale tool enabled, and you can tell it's enabled because you get these little handles, hover anywhere in the viewport away from your object. Don't touch the handles. Come over here, click, hold, and drag, and you can pull down or you can slide to the left. And let me back up. As I slide to, I'm not touching the object, I'm not touching the handles. As I slide my mouse to the left, it all constrains in equally. And I can pull down the constraints. And if I pull to the slide to the right, it goes in a positive direction. But I want to shrink this down in. So let me go up in here so you can see what I got going on here. So we can watch both. Whoops, I let go of the button. Okay, so that's okay, I scaled that in. Now I want to use the move tool. So how do you get to the move tool? You can click up here. To save yourself some time in carpal tunnel, just hit the letter E on the keyboard, and I'm going to pull this up here. For some reason I hit the ZX. I'm going to only grab I made a mistake. I grabbed both axes at the same time. Let me really zoom in here. Hang on. So you can see what's going on. Okay, I'm going to grab only the Y-axis and pull it up to get this umbrella shape. And let me go up into the perspective view, and you can see what I'm shooting for there. It's that kind of like mushroomy shape. Okay, come down to the right view again. Selection tool, again, you can go up here and click, but the easiest thing to do is to hit the space bar. Hit the space bar to enable the selection tool. Select this row, pull this up a little bit. Now I want to scale this outward, so T for transform or T for scale tool. Don't touch these handles, just come over anywhere in the workspace, click, hold, and drag to the right and scale it outwards. So let me take a look up here. I'm just showing you the perspective view to show you what kind of shape I'm going for here. Okay, how do we get to the selection tool, gang? We hit the space bar and it goes right back to the space bar. Hitting the space bar toggles between your last used tool and the selection tool. I'm going to select this third or this next horizontal row down, grab only the Y-axis and pull it up. And I don't want to go this way. I don't want to break the geometry. If you look up in the perspective view, that's wrong. I want to keep it here. Just so you can see what the heck's going on here. This is the kind of the shape I'm going for. Whoop, I messed up. There we go. Okay, now let's come down to the right view again. Same thing. I'm going to select this row, pull it up, scale tool, hit the T. I'm going to scale this outward. Whoops, I messed up. I didn't hit the scale tool. Okay, scale tool is active. Click, hold, and drag to the right. And I think you can kind of see where we're going with this. So it's getting to be kind of a tree shape if you use your imagination. All right, so let's grab the selection tool by hitting the space bar. Grab this line, pull it up, and let me zoom in on the perspective view so you can see. So you see where we're headed here. It's like this series of umbrella shapes. So now down here, I'm going to go to the selection tool, pull this up, hit the letter T for scale tool, click, hold, and drag to the right to scale it out. I'm going to hit the letter E again for the move tool and kind of move it. So you got to use some like aesthetic, you got to make some aesthetic decisions on what you want this thing to look like. The down here again, space bar to enable the selection tool. Selecting this row, I'm going to pull this all the way up yonder. And let me think here. I think what I want to do now, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 levels of this, and I'm really unhappy with how this part looks, but I'll fix that later. Okay, so now I got 3 lines, 3 horizontal rows left, and let me zoom in on that so you can see. This is going to be the trunk of my tree, so I'm going to scale this in a bunch. Hit the letter T for scale tool. Click, hold, and drag to the left, and you can let go of your mouse and start again if you run off your mouse pad or something. Letter E for move tool, and move this way up in there. Okay, so let me go in my perspective view. And I can hover over the perspective view and hit my middle mouse button so I can see with the tree selected in the object manager, hit the letter O so it frames the object. This looks nice, and I like kind of blew it on the proportions here. I think this row should come out farther, so don't just be don't settle for second best. Fix your mistakes. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit the letter O. What I want to do is grab just this row only. So enabling my selection tool by hitting the space bar, being very careful just to select this row, and then hitting letter T for scale. I want this to come out more, and then I think I'm going to hit E and come up just a little bit. Now if I go up here, this proportion looks really funky, so I got to fix that. So I'm going to come down here, selection tool, selecting only that inner chunk there, scale tool, moving it out a little bit. Now we're starting to cook with gas here. Still looks kind of weird to me. I might want to just scale this whole thing. It looks like too thick. So what do I want to do here? I think what I'll do now is I'm going to come down here, selection tool. I'm going to select every point in the world there, except for the top. Scale tool, click, hold, and drag, and pull it in. And that's looking better. And then I gotta scale tool or selection tool, grab that, and if I pull this down, okay, that's cool. So this is selection tool. What I'm doing is elongating my tree here, and I think that looks pretty good. So using the let me go to my perspective view here. So, you saw my process. It was like a little bit of trial and error, and like I can see. In fact, let me fix this. Like, okay, like for example, this. I like this stuff, but up here, this angle looks a little bit weird. So let me go back to my view. What I have to expand on. Let me make sure my selection tool is enabled. I gotta expand this a little bit, so scale tool, and let me pull it out a little bit. And you see how that changed up here? So let me go back to my. Now that's pretty good. This same thing. This there's too much of a gap here, so let me fix that. I know this. You bored yet? But I mean, this is life in art and design. You gotta like edit your stuff and fix it. Don't just be, if something looks weird, take the time to figure out why it looks weird and fix it. And tree trunks on pine trees aren't that big, so, and well, I think I'll leave it at that. That's okay, cool. So let me go back here. So I could tweak this for all eternity, I guess. Maybe the bottom needs to sweep out a little bit more, and I might address that. I'm aware that I grabbed the part of the trunk there, so let me deselect. And let me try that again. Let me see if I can get a cleaner selection. Okay, now I'm selecting only the bottom of the tree and not the tree trunk. Scale tool, pull it out a little bit. Now let me go back here, deselect so we can look at it. So yes, you may have gotten really, really bored watching this, but that's what you got to do. I mean, if you get some really funky looking, weird, malformed, out of proportion tree, delete it and do it again. So like the first time you do this, it's not gonna work well. Okay. So don't accept just your first pass at this. Like, take your time, delete your ugly trees if they're ugly, redo it again, take time to adjust your points. If you missed anything in this process, just rewind the video. And but wait, there's more. Save your file save. Make sure your file is, when you get your tree nice and neat, save your file. Then I'll see you in the next video.